Tonight, we're going to call the meeting to order, and could we have a roll call?
Alderman Santee.
Here.
Alderman Glab.
Here.
Alderman McClatchy.
Here.
Alderman Harding.
Here.
Alderman Strack.
Here.
Alderman Devine.
Here.
Alderwoman Miller. Here.
And tonight, for anyone's information, the mayor's not going to be here. Therefore, we need a mayor pro tem appointed by the city council. If I could have a motion and a second on that. Motion.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Andy Glab as Mayor Pro Tem, please.
Okay, and second?
I'll second.
Second, Alderman McClatchy. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderwoman Miller. Oh. Yes. Alderman McClatchy.
Yes.
Alderman Harding.
Yes.
Alderman Strack.
Yes.
Alderman Devine.
Yes.
Alderman Santee.
Yes.
Alderman Glab.
Thank you. Too many people.
I guess instead of sitting down, we'll just start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on the agenda, we'll have public comments. Do we have a list or anybody that signed up, or is there anybody that wishes to speak under the public input? If you'd step up to the podium, please.
Just, there's a button on there. If you could just hit that, it'll turn red. That'll let us know that you're there. You go. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bridget Barong with RJJ Ranch. I wanted to first, foremost, say thank you to Mr. Bill Hobson. He has been amazing with helping me get the barn that McHenry City owns back to life and have a heartbeat there, finally. So I also wanted to introduce myself to all of you guys and personally invite you. We're having a one-year anniversary party, May 6th, from 1 to 6 at the barn, and it's going to be Kentucky Derby style. So I would like to invite you all to come and attend. I have a couple little things that I'd like to share with you guys. And if you guys are out and about, please stop by, feel free, call me. I'd love to share what we've done with it with you guys.
I'll just add real quick that Bridget and her husband and their partner have done an amazing job at the barn, really pumping some life back into it. We had the same tenant for 30 years, I think, and the barn showed. And the TLC that they put into that place is exactly what it needs. So we're looking forward to expanding that operation and partnering with them. And really, I would take her up on that if you have the opportunity to go out there and see the barn. If you've never been in there, it's a pretty cool place, and with what they've done with it, it's headed in the right direction, that's for sure. So thank you, Bridget and Dan.
Bill, I feel that to some extent that maybe we need to take and put our heads together a little bit and try to advertise that a little bit more. We've got some amenities in the city of McHenry, and how many cities can boast the type of barn that we have over there? A lot more public awareness. I don't know if it's an event or whatever, but maybe we can come up with something that, again, can take and highlight the barn a lot more than what it is. Absolutely. Is there anybody else for public comment? Going once, going twice? No? All righty. Then I guess on our next is the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything to pull? Alderman Santee?
I'd like to pull consent agenda items 5F and 5I.
F and I?
Yes.
Then we need a motion for A through E and, what does that go, GH and J? All the way to O. You guys really knew how to throw it on this week, huh? Motion for, Alderman, or Alderwoman, Miller?
I'll make a motion to approve everything on the consent agenda except for F and I, with the correction of Brews, Booze, and Barbecue from Thursday, August 17th to Monday, August 21st.
Yes.
I don't think we want to give them a month in the park.
No.
At first you started, I thought you were gonna make it simple. But anyway, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Alderman McClatchy. Does anybody else have any other comments on these? Again, we're going, everything except F and I. Yep. Okay, can we have a roll call?
Alderwoman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman McClatchy,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Strack,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderman Glad.
I don't vote as pro
Oh,
tem.
that's right, sorry. Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Okay, so that motion passes. Alderman Santee, you pulled F? You want
Yes.
to start with F?
Yes, I just wanted, we'll make the motion as an individual item to approve the standstill agreement between the City of McHenry and Shodine Group LLC for development, redevelopment in certain properties in the downtown McHenry as presented. That's, I'm sorry, motion. That's
Okay.
my motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Strack? Okay. Discussion.
Look forward to working with Shodine on this agreement.
Okay. I know usually on the consent agenda, but do we have any public comments on this item? If not, then if we could have a roll call on it then, please.
Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Alderman Strack,
Yes.
Alderman McClatchy,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller.
Yes.
Okay, before we leave this, I just want to say on this Shodine Group, the fact that there has been discussions as far as when this came up on the agenda, public, that there are some areas that have concern, some neighborhoods that have concerns. And I just want to know that the townhouses along the creek or along Boone Lagoon are definitely concerned, just as they were with the apartment complex that had been proposed a while back. I did have a discussion with Mayor Jett at one time after the last meeting, and he agreed that representatives from the townhouses need to be involved as far as they're not going to make the decisions, but we need their input as well as to give to the developer so that the developer isn't going to get everything they want, and I'm sorry to say that the neighborhood isn't going to get everything that they want, but there's got to be a happy medium between everybody so that everybody works out. So just wanted to mention that. With that, we go to consent item I that you pulled,
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes. On consent agenda 5I, after having conversations with staff and also the committee that's working with Main Street Station, I'd like to make the motion to approve the Main Street permit open container consumption timeframe from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Instead of 4 p.m. and waive all fees as it's been presented here to event organizers. And that is my motion, to change from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay, do we have a second? Alderwoman Miller?
I have a question before a second. Did you want to extend?
Well, no, that would be, okay. All right, seconded by Alderwoman Miller. Doesn't mean you have to vote for it, it just means, you know, that it moves forward for discussion. So, do you want to continue with your discussion? Go ahead.
5 o'clock. Do you not want to extend the event to 6 PM for cleanup?
That, yes.
Yeah.
All the times will move according to this. So it will move that 1 hour to have the cleanup to 6 PM.
So they want the streets open at 5 and people be out there trying to clean up.
Exactly, yes, we don't want to see that. I understand.
Chief, are you good with that? Thank you.
So that's included in the motion then, so everybody's aware of that, which is fine, good catch. If there's no other discussion, we have a motion on the floor, let's take roll call.
Alderman Santi.
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller.
Yes.
Alderman McClatchy.
Yes.
Alderman Hardy.
Yes.
Alderman Strack.
Yes.
Alderman Devine.
Yes.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is facade grant at 1237 North Green Street in the amount of $19,639.50. This is coming out of Doug Martin's. So Doug, do you have anything to say about it?
Thank you, Alderman Glad. This is a facade grant for the property at 1237 North Green Street. This is the building that houses the Black Orchid Boutique on the first floor, residential on the second floor. The grant application is for $19,639.50 to cover the cost of residing the entire building as well as replacing the black awnings on the south facade. The total cost of total cost of the work is approximately $39,279. The grant is eligible for up to a $30,000 grant. The total grant in this case is $19,639.50. If council concurs with staff's review, it's recommended a motion be made approving a facade grant application for the property located at 1237 North Green Street in the amount of $19,639.50. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
First, we entertain a motion. Alderman McClatchy?
Yes, I would move to approve the facade grant for 1237 North Green Street.
Second? Alderman Harding?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Discussion? Alderwoman Miller?
Thank you. Doug, when we grant this, what's the balance in the facade grant fund?
Well, this is going to come out of next year's budget. So I think with this and the other grant, it'll be about $51,000 left.
So we spent about half of what we allocated for this year.
For next fiscal year.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
If nobody else, yes, Alderman Santee.
No, just a quick statement. 1237 North Green Street and the building next door is owned by the same family, and they've done a fine job of developing a nice restaurant business and redoing that building, and also allowing a nice little dress boutique shop to operate on their first floor. And, I look forward to having this grant passed so this family can move on and continue to, to work on their properties and just making them look that much better in the city.
Any other discussion? I guess I do have a question for Doug. Have we looked at the proposal of exactly what they're doing, and how is that going to fit into that area, and as far as what we're looking at in our future as far as redevelopment there?
Well, I looked at the color of the facade and the black awning, and looked at the redevelopment as far as that's concerned.
Okay, so, I mean, it's being redeveloped, but is it going to fit in with the motif of the downtown area? you
Right.
know?
Yes.
And that would be my concern, when you're using any kind of city dollars. Needless to say, our ordinances aren't that strict as far as, when the property owner wants to redevelop their property, as far as upscaling it. I do want to mention the Black Orchid, boutique, for a fella that, you wouldn't think I'd know anything about the Black Orchid, but, I did know one of the original owners. I don't even know if she still owns it or not, but, the Black Orchid, in discussions from years back, I could remember we pulled people all the way from as far as South Barrington that goes to this, boutique. And these are the type of businesses that I always talk about when I talk about entrepreneurs that we need to start these small businesses out, to fill in for our downtown area and our smaller areas, in the shopping centers. People can learn just from this one business, so I just wanted to mention that. That's all I've got. Anybody else with any other comments? If not, I'd entertain a roll call, please.
Alderman McClatchy?
Yes.
Alderman Harding?
Yes.
Alderman Strack?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Santi?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Our next one is an ordinance granting a conditional use permit and zoning variance to operate a fire station located at 1004 South Illinois Route 31. City planner, so Ross, I guess you're filling in for Cody there.
We just forgot to change the name. So petitioner tonight is McHenry Township Fire Protection District. They're requesting approval of a conditional use permit and a zoning variance to allow it for a driveway width for the operation of the new fire station located at 1004 South Route Illinois 31. The variance for the driveway width is due to the state's requirements for that signalized intersection. They will be the fourth leg of that intersection at Shamrock and South Route 31. So kind of out of our hands, they are going from our ordinance, which requires a 12-foot width maximum, to a 14-foot width. Staff sees no issues with that, and again, that's a state requirement, so we kind of bound to it. The only other question that came up is the timing of this construction of this project, and with IDOT moving towards their land acquisition for the expansion of Route 31, the fire department took it upon themselves. I thought this would be a good time to get all the necessary approvals for a future station, but there is no immediate time frame for the construction of this new station. The Township Fire Protection District is here for specific questions, or I am here as well.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion. Alderman.
I'd like to motion as presented. Thank you.
And seconded by Alderman Santi.
Yes, I will second the motion.
Okay, discussion. First, I think we have a representative from the McHenry Township Fire Department. If you want to come up for a second, and just like to more or less introduce yourself and anything else you'd like to add to the proposal.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Jim O'Donnell.
Can you hit the button? Sorry, Jim.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
So my name's Jim O'Donnell. I'm with the district. We have a couple representatives here. First, we have President Alan Miller, who's with us. We have Chief Rudy Horst. We have Tim Schmidt, who's our architect, and Megan Michaels, who's our engineer. So depending on if there's any questions, I can direct it to the right person. But we're very excited to move forward with getting this put in place, especially with the IDOT and the IDOT expansion. You did see in the ordinance there was in some part of the descriptions, we were coming in originally with also a sound variance and a landscape. We withdrew the landscape. We have no issues. We're going to comply with that. And the sound variance, there's an exemption to it. So, again, that was withdrawn. So we're just before you tonight for the conditional use for a fire station and the variance regarding the width for the IDOT.
Okay. Discussion, please. Nobody has any discussion? Okay. Yes, Alderman McClatchy.
Yeah, I just want to say, you make McHenry proud. Your department is one of the best in the county, and I look forward to working with you.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I'll just reiterate, echo what Alderman McClatchy said. You know, the fire department, I don't know how long they've owned this property, but I know for years they've had their plans in place, and they know where they needed to put their stations as we grow, and I commend them the fact that they're on top of it and they're ahead of us one step, so they're always ready to open up another station when needed.
Yeah, thank you. In fact, if I can put a plug in for our trustees and our chief, they actually go through an evaluation and look at all the calls and where all the calls are going, and they've actually identified those locations. And so it's not like they threw a dart on it and said, this is the best location. This has been years of information that they've been gathering, and it's a great location for taking a lot of the pressure off Station 1 and some of the other stations.
Sure.
Thank you.
So if there's nothing else, I'd entertain a roll call, please. Oh, you do have a question, I'm sorry.
I got one quick question. On the stoplight there, are you guys responding through that stoplight, or are you guys, how's that gonna work? You can just answer from there if you want.
Good.
Could you step up to the podium, please?
Sorry. You're probably right.
You were gonna talk too much.
Anybody that's watching on Zoom wouldn't be able to hear you.
Hi, I'm Megan Michael from Jake Condon and Associates. When the intersection is improved fully, the station signal will be integrated through the signalization of the intersection, so they'll be able to leave the site immediately.
So that four-way, it's gonna look like a four-way intersection there?
It's gonna look like a four-way intersection.
Rig's gonna be responding out of that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Can I add one other piece to that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so the other part of that, part of the ordinance also talks about a cross-access easement agreement between the north and south property owners as well. And so we're looking at shaded lighting there, so then when we're coming out, we're also providing that protection as well.
Great. Anybody else have any questions? I guess now I'll ask for the roll call vote, please.
Alderman Strack?
Yes.
Alderman Santi?
Yes.
Alderman McClatchy?
Yes.
Alderman Harding?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. On our next agenda, we have an ordinance granting a zoning map amendment for the properties located at 3812 and 3814 Main Street. Ross?
Thank you, Alderman Glab. So the city of McHenry is actually a petitioner on this one. We have identified two properties that on Main Street that for some particular reason they were zoned C4, which is commercial downtown. One of them is being used as they're both being used as residential. So what had happened is the homeowner came in, wanted to put an addition on the building. They were not conforming. We noticed that they were not conforming due to zoning, so this is cleaning them up, very basic. So I'm here if there's any specific questions. They're just changing from the C4 to an RA1 attached residential district.
Okay, entertain a motion. Alderman Santee?
I'll make the motion that we approve the zoning map amendments for the properties located at 3812 and 2814 Main Street as presented.
Second. Alderwoman Miller?
I'll second that, but just make sure the notes have the correct addresses of 3812 and 3814. The agenda has 2814.
Check that, yeah.
We're... So the correct addresses are what?
I see it. I see it. Yep. Thank you.
Discussion? No discussion by anyone, then ask for a roll call, please, or a vote.
Yes.
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 Motion is carried. The next thing on the agenda is ordinance granting zoning and text amendment to the City of McHenry on the off-street parking and loading ordinance. I would...
Thank you again, Alderman Glab. Just a little house cleaning on this one. Things that we noticed as we've brought petitioners through the process. We're requesting approval of zoning text amendments to the City of McHenry's off-street parking and loading ordinance. Text amendments would eliminate the 10 space per 1,000 square foot standard bar/tavern and replace it with a recently adopted restaurant standard, which is 4 spaces per 1,000 or 1 every 4 seats, whichever is greater. We did research with surrounding communities and found out that we were way over on the number of spaces that were being required for our bar/tavern. So we decided to come more in line with what they have and bring it in to kind of the restaurant standard. So just, again, cleaning up our zoning ordinance a little bit.
Okay, entertain a motion. Alderman Strack.
I make that motion as presented.
Second, Alderman Santi.
I will second the motion.
Discussion. Okay. The only thing I want to mention is the fact that reducing these spaces just concerns me. I can think of a couple spots where if properties were developed and they weren't required that many spaces for parking, it's great for maybe the everyday, but there's going to be times when there's going to be an overflow, and then it winds up, unfortunately, into the residential areas, and that's the part that concerns me. I'd rather have it a little higher requirements, and then they could always come in for a variance where it makes sense, but that's my opinion. If there is no other discussion, then I would entertain a vote, please.
Alderman Strack?
Yes.
Alderman Santi?
Yes.
Alderman McClatchy?
Yes.
Alderman Harding?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Next on the agenda is it's a conceptual presentation for Redwood Townhome Development. Ross, again, do we have a developer here?
We do. I'll make this short. Yeah, Redwood is going to be presenting. We've been working with Redwood now for 6 to 8 months, maybe a little bit longer. Just conceptually, back and forth, casual conversation. They have taken the next steps in their project, and they're looking to seek input from the City Council on their conceptual plan. So I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. This is Paul. Are you the only one that's going to speak tonight? Okay. I will hand the floor off to Paul from Redwood, and then he's got a brief presentation to give to the City Council. So we're just looking as staff for some feedback, thumbs up, see if you guys like the development, where it's located, so we can continue to the planning and zoning process.
Okay. Yes, please.
Thanks, Paul.
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm a little hoarse and not feeling all that great this evening, but I am extremely excited about being here. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Alderman, Alderwoman, thank you very much for the opportunity to come here and present and discuss Redwood. But before I begin, I wanted to say again, thank you to Ross, Troy, and Doug, as well as Cody, for all their help and guidance. We couldn't be happier about those discussions and the help that we've received thus far to kind of hone in on our development proposal. So I want to thank you again for your time, attention, and consideration. Go, Derek, next. Before I begin, I want to let you know that I come before you and speak to you in the only way that I know how, and that's discuss things openly and honestly, which you will see is core value number 5 of 8. You'll see all core values of Redwood on the right-hand side. The easiest way to describe Redwood, what we do, how we do it, and why, is really core value number 1, and that's do one thing well. And the one thing that we have been doing well since we were founded in 1991 is build 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage with a den, townhome neighborhoods for rent. To date, we have over 15,000 of those residents in about 11 states, you can see. And we have not sold a single one that we've built. So we're a long-term holder and owner. You can go, Darren. All of what we do, Redwood, doesn't happen by accident. It's all prescribed. It's part of our branding, every little thing that we do. And we'll talk about some of those bigger things. But there are today over 450 employees at Redwood, which includes those folks on the site. There's usually about 2 folks on each site, a property manager and a maintenance manager. So how do we find our customers, and how do we control who those customers are? Through quality and property management. We use background checks. I'm not going to read everything there to you, but you can see what that is. Our entrance criteria is much more stringent than that of a single-family home or even an HOA. So a little bit about who our residents are. They're empty nesters. Again, what Redwood does is very prescribed. We know when we select a site who those residents are going to be. We use demographic studies. We use a significant amount of analysis. We know who's going to rent here, and for the most part, they will come from within about a 3-mile radius, 3 to 4. But we know exactly who they are, and they're people who are looking for that Redwood brand. Again, that 15,000 unit portfolio in 11 states, it spans a lot of different geographies, a lot of different economic conditions. But there's one thing that we know for sure is who our residents will be. And then getting into some of the details of who those residents are. Within our portfolio, the average age is about 51. 70% are empty nesters. And most locate, again, from that 3-mile radius. They bring about, there's about 1.65 residents per home and about 1.5 cars per home. And there are about 7 school-aged children per 100 homes. Next one, Jerry. So a little bit more about who are our neighborhoods. Rents in the Chicagoland area, because of interest rates increasing, equate to a little bit lower home price than they were a couple of months ago. But that is about a $275,000 to $375,000 home. In terms of economic impact, about 75% of our annual operating budget is spent locally within a local area, and that's labor, vendors, and suppliers. About 40% of our construction budget, and that's usually horizontal, sewers, ground, and that, and that's usually local in the area. Obviously, if there's not a grading company or something like that in the city, then there isn't, but it'll be in the area. And then in terms of our long-term occupancy, nearly 3.5% of the residents who moved into a community that's 10 years old or older in Redwood, and some of these are, going on 20 years at this point, still call Redwood home. So we do have long-term residency. All of our homes, we built to HERS standards. We're, again, a very long-term owner. You'll see that in the quality of the construction from the tip of the roof all the way down to those concrete roads. All of our roads, our drive aisles, are concrete. They are 22-foot wide with an integrated 4-foot sidewalk. They are 12-mile-an-hour posted speed limits with no parking on them. And that is, again, in part because of who Redwood is. It's part of our branding. You calm the traffic down, you slow it down, and that's what our residents really enjoy. This is a little slide about, I got to look at it down here. My glasses aren't going to see that. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. But this is a brief slide about the economic impact from our residents into the neighborhood. Again, when residents move into a Redwood home, they have a little bit more disposable income. This just kind of shows you at the 1 mile, 3 mile, and 5 mile from our neighborhood, the economic impact based on residents who would live or potentially live within a Redwood neighborhood. What this basically shows you is that there's an economic impact of about $50,000 per home. in the community, and then I chose a 1% and a 2% tax rate just to demonstrate how much might come back to the city. Next one. This here is a slide that compares our rents to own homes within a 3-mile radius. And as you can see, we fit, again, in that $250,000 to $300,000 range, our rents. And you can see our math and how we come to that. What's also important to us is that level just above that rent and below that rent, you look at the population, that's our target population for Redwood. So there's roughly just over about 4,100 people that might rent in Redwood. And now it's the pretty picture time. So here's the exteriors of Redwood. Again, everything that Redwood does is very prescribed, from the site selection all the way to long-term management and all those little things in between. We have 0-grade entrances. Wheelchairs, walkers can get over them. We use lever door handles, and I'll talk about that in a second. Our integrated sidewalks and integrated street systems allows us to have enhanced ADA compliance so that one neighbor could visit another neighbor across the street, and they don't have to go along an ADA route. They can just walk across the street. There's no cars parked in front of their home, and the speed limits are a little bit lower, so they feel a little bit more comfortable. If you go next one. So here's our interiors. As you can see, they're high-end, high-finish, stainless steel, pendant lighting. The photo I like to point out a lot is that one that's on the right-hand side. If you just look at that photo, not the decorator pillows, not the decorator lamp or the shades or anything, but the window, more precisely, what you see through the window. You see what looks like a condominium, a home, rather than a traditional garden-style apartment. We all know at Redwood we could do a lot different things and make a lot more money. We choose to transform lives. We really do. If you heard our owner, our principal, Steve, he would tell you that. He would tell everybody that. We go to conferences and talk to people who are in the multifamily business, and they say, why don't you do something different? You could make a lot more money. But this is what we choose to do. And it is our mission, it is our passion. And that picture right there really demonstrates all you need to see. These are our floor plans. Our smallest home is just under 1,300 square feet. Our largest home is just over 1,600 square feet. I wanted to point out that Haydenwood unit, that 13433, that's our rear-loaded garage unit. We use those when we're buffering up against other roadways. You can see that the picture below that, the porches to the front of the unit, just gives you a little bit different perspective. We have several different unit types that we can use, several different unit finishes that we can put on there. Some of those, thank you. You're clicking it out. Figuring it out. Figuring out my flow. And here are some of the products that we use. I'm not giving you these websites to tell you that those are the specific products that we would use. I'm giving them to you so you can see this, so you can see the quality of the products. Supply chains, we have learned over the last couple of years, we can't guarantee a specific item. We did that once and we'll never do that again. But these are the type of quality products that we would use and integrate within the Redwood community. So here's a little bit about our long-term maintenance. Last year and the year before, in Redwood communities that are 10 years old or older, we spent approximately $1,000 per home renovating capital improvements, not leaky faucets, not fixing a blind or something like that. Real hard dollar, long-term dollars like roofs, siding, interiors. We don't have to do that, but we choose to do that. Again, we are an extremely long-term holder. I'm going to go here to the site plan. I can come back to this in a minute, but right now what we've proposed in this site plan is 180 homes. We internally would show that as 2 phases at least, right? Just 2. Are we going to carve out Sorry, I'm joined this evening by Kevin Seraphin with SEMCON. Sorry. We would do 2 phases, but to the village and to the average person, you'd see just the continuation of a development. That's really set up that way more for financing and capital raising. So I'm going to continue on. Part of that branding that is Redwood is again that long-term maintenance as well as the short-term. You can see our standards right here, and I like to show this slide. It shows you how precise we are on our management side of the business. 2 inches, we're shoveling and plowing those roads that we are building and maintaining. Grass gets to a certain height, we cut it. Most of the time, my Redwoods landscaping minimums are usually a lot higher, we found, and most of the deals we're working on in Chicagoland are much higher and more robust planning. So I'm going to finish out here with just some imagery, and then you can keep going there. This exterior. Here, you can see, can you go back just one slide? And you can see kind of how we integrate the different types of quality materials. Interior, again, luxury vinyl plank flooring, panel doors. I don't want to say 6 panel doors because we did at one point in time. We had to get 3 panel doors, but they were all panelized doors, higher end doors. Again, lever door handles, stainless steel appliances. You keep going, Derek? That's a master bedroom. And then bathroom, that bathroom photo, one thing I just wanted to point out is all of our bathrooms, they're walk-in showers. There's no tubs. And that is, again, what our clients, what our customers have shown us in other markets that they value. This slide here, I'll just stop with the little story and tell you this. Everybody says, Paul, I can't believe you're going to get people out of their homes. And where are they going to put all their stuff? So what we do is we show people how much space that they have within their home. It's clearly if someone's coming out of a 3-bedroom home with a basement, this is not enough stuff. So what we do is we use that slide that I showed you about the economic impact of a Redwood neighborhood, and we go out to the business community, and we'll cut a deal with a storage facility. And I can tell you what happens is people will put their stuff in a storage facility, then on the renewal of their first lease, half of them will get rid of their stuff. Then on the renewal of their second year, the other half will get rid of the half, then you're down to a quarter, and there's usually a few stragglers that, will never get rid of their stuff. But for the most part, everybody figures out how to downsize. In terms of, that connection with the business community, Redwood, again, attracts residents within the area. So they are already here. They are already our neighbors. They already have a gym. They already have a restaurant that they like. They have a coffee shop that they like. And we are just providing them with an exceptional housing opportunity that you just don't see. There's no one who does what Redwood does in size, scale, and scope across the country. We are very unique in that matter. And then here's the end. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you'd have.
Anybody? Questions?
Yeah.
Alderman McClatchy?
Thank you, Alderman. Just a couple quick questions. I see a lot of brick. That's actual brick stone?
It's synthetic.
Really?
It's synthetic stone.
Okay. That's not good. Second question, do you have issues with the impact fees you'll be paying the city? You're okay with that?
We come in with that. We're
okay.
Prepared.
And just a quick question, probably to Troy. As far as the sewer, is that going to go back to town, or we're going to?
We should be able to serve it with gravity sewer. There's a lift station along Route 120 and the lift station that crosses the Fox River, but we haven't looked at it in perfect depth yet, but we should be able to serve that site.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just say one thing, Alderman Glab?
Yeah.
About the when he says it's synthetic, it's still cementatious, so it's it's still a stone. It's just you're not finding real brick anymore. Like, they're not putting real brick on buildings. This is your Versetta stone, right? Or your, there's actually a stone component. It's not plastic, it's not resin, it's actually cement-based stone.
There was a developer that tried to put up something.
Yeah, we stopped them from doing that,
Right.
yes.
How is this compared to what they were gonna try and put up?
Well, that was plastic
Just
siding.
plastic? Okay.
This is actually stone that they're using.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's 180 degrees different.
Gotcha.
Woman Miller, did you have a?
Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for your presentation. I thought the material in our packet was well prepared. I'm in real estate, so I think this is a development that could just serve our community extraordinarily well. Most of the rental units that we have here are 2 stories or with stairs. We have an aging population, and as you've identified, they no longer want to be homeowners. They want to have a new place to rent because they no longer want to maintain their old house. So I think your development looks real nice. I haven't been to any of your developments. Do you have anything close?
Sure. Great question, and I was remiss in saying any of that. We have a site we're moving dirt on. Are we vertical yet in Volo?
There's 4 buildings.
We have 4 buildings going up in Volo. They would be just sided, wood siding, not finished. We have a site that has, I think, about 10 buildings that's already done, and we're starting leasing in Lockport. And that's across the street from Broken Arrow Golf Estates. We have a site in Crystal Lake behind the Walmart. We have a site in Oswego that we're, again, moving dirt in. And then last one in Aurora. The only ones where we're vertical right now is Volo, and that's across from the Woodmans. There's that big pile of dirt. Everybody, all of a sudden, it showed up, and everybody went, there's a big pile of dirt there. That's us. But in Lockport, we do have units homes that are being rented right now, and we'd welcome anyone to see those. Unfortunately, that's all we have in the area. The vast majority of our portfolio is east of Chicagoland.
I'd like to visit the ones in South Carolina.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So we tell people all the time when we present in front of commissions and councils, it's perfectly fine if you're skeptical of Redwood or you don't believe us. We understand that, there are some developers sometimes that come in front of you that don't do the things they say they're going to do. We are not that. And as a matter of fact, we have offered to Doug and Ross and everybody that we met initially, don't have us give you a name of a community that you can call. Just call anyone. You can look at our website, call anyone, call any municipality and ask them 2 questions. Did Redwood do what they said they were going to do, and are they who they say they are? And I know you will hear the answer, yes. And that's over 138 communities. So we'd welcome you to go do that. You don't need an appointment. You can go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is your development pet friendly?
Yes. Yes.
I didn't see like a pet space on the development site. Did I miss it?
We didn't do anything specific with this one.
No, but there's a pet wash area.
There's a pet wash area within we have a pet washing station within the leasing center. There is a leasing center there. But in terms of the open space, what a resident has rights to is from the tip of that driveway all the way up to within the 4 walls of the community. The rest of it is common. So they have the opportunity to walk their dog around. We do have, the bags and that for people to use.
Can I keep going? Do you mind? Okay. Parking. You said no street parking.
No street parking.
So you've got a 2-car garage and consistently 2 on
2 in the front.
2 in front.
4 per home, and then we will add. I don't think we're at that level yet. The detail.
We aim for 25%.
Yeah, we'll add guest parking.
Perfect.
Yeah, we will add guest parking. We're just not at that level.
These people are going to socialize, and they're going to have dinner parties for 6.
They will.
Yeah, so we need to have 4 cars out there, so if there's visitor parking, that would be awesome.
They will. Mother's Day and Christmas are usually the times we have, we have
Perfect.
to really get on people.
And then my only last question, in your presentation, you showed us a very mute palette as far as colors.
Sure.
And I know you're just presenting that as, samples. In one of your photos in the packet that we got, there was a beautiful, vibrant red.
Sure.
So have you selected that
Yes.
palette, or are you open to being more creative?
We have a standard palette that Barn Red is within that standard.
Awesome, thank you.
Alderman Schrock.
Paul, just one quick question for you, if I may. You mentioned the concrete drives and streets as well, and you mentioned snow plowing. So tell me, are you maintaining streets in the
Yes.
development? So this does not get dedicated to us?
No, none of this is. This is all private. It's privately built, privately maintained. I don't know how to say this without, I mean, no offense whatsoever, but Redwood can do the maintenance and the plowing significantly faster than most municipalities. And our tax bill will not reflect that we're paying for all that. It will be taxed as though that the municipality is doing
Just
that.
wanted to make sure everybody was aware that
Yeah.
was the case. Troy and I are extremely happy about that, I'm sure. Thank you.
Troy was, he didn't do a somersault or anything, but.
I do have a few questions. Number one, I was glad to hear you mention dogs, so you do let people have pets, right?
We do.
Is there any restriction on the size of dogs or anything else?
There are some restrictions. I'm not as well versed in it. It is in our leasing criteria, number of and breed, no pit bulls and things like that.
You don't allow people to have 7 different dogs and pets
No.
and everything else?
No,
Okay.
no.
I guess this one more would be for Ross. Looking at his brochures, I'm sure you've had discussions with him. Does everything kind of blend in and fit in as far as our ordinances, as far as especially the outside exterior?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
percentage
we
of
haven't
stone and
gotten
everything?
into the weeds yet. I would say we haven't gotten that far. We're at this conceptual stage, so we'll be, but everything that I've seen, I would have no questions of building materials or anything of that nature.
Okay, so we're not really looking at variances or at this point in time?
Nothing that I'm aware of at this
Okay.
point, no.
And then the other thing I've got is infrastructure. As far as sewers and water, where are we out in that area there?
We have it at the corner of 120 and
Chapel?
Troy.
Yeah, so there is one section of 8-inch before you hit a 12 that might have to be sized up. It's only like a couple hundred feet long in front of the old Harley dealership. And then water production.
What's that? Could you just talk into your mic just a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. There's one small
Thank you.
section of 8-inch pipe that may have to get sized up before you hit a 12-inch that runs along Route 120. That's a fairly small thing. And then we do have production to accommodate this development. We are with what's been added in the last few years, we are starting to get closer to needing our 5th water plant, and that's something that we're researching right now. But that's not something that this development is going to make us do on its own.
There really is a lot of, for the city to have to take out there, because it's all there. Okay, thank you. Anyone? Yes, Alderman Hardy.
Yeah, just a couple questions here. Playground area?
Typically, we do not put those in there, in part because of who we attract as residents. There's not, many children, if at all, any, and that come. There's, again, in our portfolio, it's about 7 per 100 homes. We're not providing that.
And then, do you guys confer with the fire department on the size of your streets?
Yep.
And
We will do a
fire apparatus? And
We'll do a
get
turn
into
radii study as part of it. Yep.
So
we've never had a problem.
with are these condos in fire sprinkler too?
We have been doing that in most of them in Illinois. I don't know. Ross.
You will be required to,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I think we're doing a 2-hour break.
They're
between.
More than
Yeah.
likely you will be. I shouldn't say you will be required to. There are exceptions,
Yeah,
depending
there-
on how they're built. But
From our standpoint, if if we're doing specific units or something like that, it would be easier for us to just do a whole building, you know, and you do get, there is cost savings on the insurance side for doing that. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know that we're at that point, but whatever the code requires, that's what we'll do.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Some of your residents here, do they have, or the homes, do they have like wider doorways? Are they, because you say that zero threshold?
Our electrical outlets are at wheelchair height. I mean, we're building to a very specific clientele.
You know, something that I noticed on the roadway configuration, and I know that's not in concrete right now as far as where it's going to go. Excuse the pun, but more than anything, my concern would be just directly south of this property is District 156's property that they've had for the last 20 years, and someday they may decide to finally start developing that, you know. I kind of worry about that one ingress egress right on the curve.
So they won't be, the county has a plan for Chapel Hill Road that includes a signal south of this development. So that's the right in, right out that you see on this plan, that's all the county will give to them is a right in, right out.
Okay, all right.
On Chapel Hill, or on, is it River, it's River Road there, I believe. But further south, with the development of the school, they would be required to put in a signal.
Okay, thank you.
Ross, can I build on that? So we had been working with staff about a fully, you know, integrated roadway system planned, not built by Redwood, but we would be, the landowner would be looking to annex the rest of that land into the city as part of this, and that annexation agreement would stipulate those requirements. So ingress, egress would continue on. I can't tell you exactly how it is, but it would be up to the next developer to come in, which we are hoping that happens soon. Redwood doesn't want to just be out there, you know, for the next 10 years and that's it. That's not our goal. Our goal is to bring in some density, bring in some rooftops, and then help spur some additional development. Okay. So we want to make sure this is done right.
Alderman Santee.
Thank you, Paul, for a very nice presentation. A lot of the other council members answered most of my questions. I just got a couple real quick ones. On the rental fees, is there like an association fee wrapped into that rental, or is that a different fee on its own? Sure.
So I hesitate to say it this way, but think of us as rental when it comes to that issue.
Okay.
And a couple other things, you know, how we build, kind of how we manage at a certain level. But the rest of it is a single-story townhome neighborhood for rent. So it's all one or two parcels in this case. Redwood owns and controls everything, and we lease the individual spaces within the four walls and the driveways.
And you'd be looking at designing this where it'd be utilities going into this would be your electric and gas?
Yep, and water.
Okay,
water.
Water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No basements?
No basements.
No basements, all right. And you mentioned this probably at the start, total number of units in this development, and you said you'd split it up.
Right now, we're phase 1, 150, and phase 2, 30. So 180 in total.
Okay, all right. And you did, just to confirm, you did say this, or someone asked the question, you do have a leasing office on the premises?
We do. We have a leasing office, management office.
Standard hours, Monday through Friday or Saturdays?
Yeah, it varies depending on, you know, the beginning part. There'll be people there more often, you know, as we're leasing up and we're building. There'll be somebody there who's, you know, watching over the development, somebody who's, you know, leasing apartments. And then once it's fully stabilized, then they'll set hours, and those set hours depend on their market specific. You know, it could be Monday they're closed and they're open Tuesday through Saturday or something like that.
You know, any kind of maintenance issues that might be needing an immediate response, or is a way of getting to the maintenance director or whomever?
40% of the community managers and maintenance professionals who work at a community across our portfolio actually live on site. So I'm not saying that they will here, but, you know, that's the experience we have in terms of, availability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
No worries.
Okay. Alderwoman Miller.
Paul, just one more question. What's your turnover rate in your other communities? Or what's your retention rate?
Retention, we're plus, I'd have to get back to you with a specific number, but we're probably above 60 in terms, I have a slide that's back if you, Derek, if you want to show, let me get to it first myself before I show it to you, which is, kind of answers that question a little bit better. I think it's 29. Yeah, that's the one. So what this shows is rent growth on an annual basis for the last 15 years. You can see that even in the last recession, Redwood grew rent. And some people go, wow, that rent really grew in 2007 and 2006. How did that happen? Well, that's because that's the nature of our business. People were coming out of homes and they chose to rent, so there's a lot more demand, so rent grew. But as you can see, in the last 15 years, including today, as I speak in front of you, our occupancy in our whole portfolio has never slipped below 90.
Thank you.
No worries. I hope that answered your question.
No other questions? I think, does anybody have a comment to Redwood as far as concerns or anything else? Do we have a consensus that we'd like them to move forward? Alderman Strachan?
Yeah, I mean, I'll certainly throw out the yes. I think it's a perfect fit in the need of housing in the area, and Alderwoman Miller and I are fighting that battle every day, and along with Alderman Harding as well. This is the market today, and we really have a growing population that needs this style of home. So we'd love to have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Miller.
Yeah, I'll echo that. A few years ago, we did a housing study that focused on apartments and rental ability, and we were significantly deficit on demand over opportunity. So this is a well-thought community, and it's a product that does not currently exist in our marketplace unless you're privately renting someone's one-story home. So I think it will be well-received and an asset to our community.
I will second that. I think you're right. I think this is a very different type of concept that we've seen in our city, and I really think they'll fill in fast, and they will be in high demand for this type of development. So I guess it's up to, I'm sorry, anybody else? No? So, yeah, just like Alderwoman Miller put thumbs up, it sounds like the council at this point in time would like to see a lot more.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. We look forward to working with everybody.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to hand over to our administrator, Derek Moorfield, as far as going over the proposed budget, as far as the changes and the updates.
So I'm actually not. I talked quite a bit last time, I think 40 minutes or so, and I said I wouldn't. And if anyone in the public or watching online wants to see the full dog and pony show about our operating budgets and capital assets, capital projects, they can go back and watch the last meeting. Typically what we use this follow-up meeting for is to identify any changes that came from that previous meeting, and then to ask if there's any questions. We have about 40 funds total in the city, which is quite a few. About 13 or 14 of those are actually operating funds or non-capital related funds, capital project funds. The rest of them are things like, risk management and insurance, employee insurance funds, and funds that are account for expenditures of dollars that we transfer over for those uses from the general fund. So I'm not going to go through each of those. I actually have them listed out here at the end. That's all the other funds that we have other than the ones that we went through last time. But I provided counsel, and in the packet, if anyone chooses to take a look at it after tonight, Carolyn provided a detailed report of any updates from the last meeting, and we provided council with detailed information about all the other funds and kind of what the purpose of tonight was. And I'll just open it up to any questions that council may have from last meeting or any of the changes that were made, and I'll just leave it from there.
Alderman McClatchy?
It was like a minute, wasn't it? 90 seconds.
I just want to congratulate him for being under a minute, but you did a great job last meeting, and keep up the good work.
I do have a question. You show proposed results as a revised surplus of $637,000.
Yeah.
Should be used at council discretionary. Possibly we could move some more of that to the roads, and I can think of one street that's fallen apart completely that we probably need to take a look at desperately. So,
well, it's council discretionary funds, so theoretically, yes, it would take a majority of council to do that. So, but yes, to answer your question.
You're out of order. No. Again, food for thought. Infrastructure is so important. So,
what'll happen after tonight then is basically Carolyn and I finish up the narratives of the budget. We put the whole packet together, and then we'll transmit that to council next Monday. Monty will make sure that you all get hard copies of that so that you have a hard copy to take a look at, and then that'll come before council on the 17th at the next council meeting for adoption so that we can put it in place as of May 1st, the beginning of the next fiscal year. Thank you.
Okay.
That's all I have.
If there's nothing further, next on the agenda is...
Yep, sorry, I'll get back.
That's all right. Move her forward. We have...
it's going to be staff comments, I believe.
Is it the staff? Okay.
Staff reports, yeah.
All right, so do we have any staff reports tonight?
No.
Other than what's been said to us. Mayor's report. Hello? How's the basketball game? No. City council comments. Anybody?
Yeah, can I pipe in it? Okay.
All right, go ahead. Alderman Sands.
It kind of falls back into the budget. I just wanted to, let the citizens here and, watching on TV and fellow council members, I can't really put a date to it, Derek, but at least for, the last 6 to 8 years, the functioning presentation of our budget and how it moves in from level A, through B and C, just to get to where, in 2 more weeks we're approving this budget. It's been very smooth, and if you want to kind of, tinker with it or drill down and try to find something, sure. But all in all, when you put the numbers together, it's been flowing very well over these last several years, and I applaud our Administrator Moorfield, and excellent job by Carolyn, our Finance Director, in regards to doing all her work, and to the directors, because they've got to submit the numbers, and these 2 people have to approve them. And what I've seen over these last few years is it's been a very smooth path, and I verbally applaud you guys. You've been doing a great job over these last few years. It's made this process in April, which was very tedious, very long, lots of 40-minute presentations, not just one. And I will leave it at that because I don't need to go on because we're doing well. wrap it up. Thank you.
Attorney McCardle, I know you've got something you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, so Mayor Jett asked me to help he and Ann a month or so ago prepare this process for the city administrator issue, and we distributed the memorandum dated February 21st to you, and you wanted to start the process to see if there's any comments. He brought this up at the last meeting or some meeting before this and didn't entertain any comments, and he felt people were talking about it, but it wasn't progressing.
Yeah, so that you're talking into it, so that people on TV can hear you.
Okay, well, it's for the city council. So does anybody on the city council have any comments about the process that was distributed to you? Do you want to alter it all? Would you?
So I just have a question. We see the memorandum with the process that the mayor is proposing we follow. I asked at some point if that was policy or process, and Ann said we do have a policy for replacement, correct?
Well, a policy for the city administrator?
No, this is all invented. There's a statute that applies to
Right.
the appointment process.
Correct.
And there's your city code that applies to the process, but that's it. All of the steps that were incorporated in here were invented by myself, Ann, and the mayor,
So is
in order
it
to involve other people.
Is it going to turn into a policy, or is it just a memorandum process?
It's just hopefully one time, not to be repeated. I mean, this is a one-time experience. It doesn't happen that often.
Well, maybe that's where you and I disagree, because I don't think it should be a one-time and reinvent the wheel every time it happens, that
You people are the legislature. You can change it, you can regulate it, you can make it be whatever you want, your home rule.
So, and I don't want to belabor the point, but I was surprised that we didn't have a policy about a replacement. So we started the discussion about process, and we have one, and I don't understand why we would just talk about it as a one-time deal and not implement it as a policy.
It's whatever you want. Most towns, the mayor makes the appointment and the city council's involved in the remaining interviews that are left, the last 3 or 4, and that's it. You make the appointment, you're done. And if you don't think that's the case, just call around. But you can make it as organized and policy-oriented as you want.
Thank you.
All we need is direction. We need direction. Otherwise, we don't know what to do because our thoughts, we don't vote.
Excuse me, but you know what?
This
we
isn't
could
even on the
probably go
agenda.
on and with this. How about if we take and we put it on for the next council meeting as far as a discussion item, to where everybody has time to think about it, look at the process again, and everybody can come up with their ideas of how to improve it, and then maybe we take it forward to some kind of an ordinance and policy that is pretty much for the future set up so that the next time this might happen, we know exactly where we're going. Alderman Harding?
Yeah. Is there a policy for, like, when the public works guy leaves or somebody else leaves, a director, is there a policy within our city to replacing them, or is that just up to the city manager?
Well, I'll say we have a recruitment process. I'm not going to say it's a policy, because when you have formed in policy, things change over the years, right? So, I mean, we definitely have a recruitment process for all positions within the city. Meaning, which is usually headed by HR, of course. So, you know, I can tell you we review the job description. What has changed, okay? Update the job description. You know, you obviously look at salaries. You look at the landscape of the whole recruitment, what's out there, what's not out there. We look at our organizational structure. You know, do we need, let's say if it's Public Works Director, sorry, Troy, but, you know, is it, you know, we're going to get a director level, but then we look at the organization. Well, what does the organizational chart look under that? Do we need also an assistant? So we kind of look at everything, but it's not in policy.
Can I say something? So yeah, if you look in the municipal code, the responsibilities of the city administrator are, I mean, basically, and this isn't like a power statement, it's just a statement. The staff that works for the city of McHenry is the responsibility of the city administrator. Department directors I hire, evaluate, fire. That's my job, and part of my responsibilities as the city administrator. I understand the comments about the policy aspect for an administrator. You know, while I agree with Attorney McCardle that it doesn't happen every day, I think some of the concerns that I've heard or that come into it are, well, what if it does, and B, well, 10 years from now, why should a council have to go through this again if they go through it again? Like if there's a blueprint that's on a shelf that we can pull off as a policy that says, well, do we have to reinvent the wheel again? And again, it can be changed by that council 10 years from now too. It can be completely thrown out the window and just say, no, you just hire the person and we don't care who it is. But at least there's a starting point where the way the city code has evolved, our city code evolved, you know, we've made corrections to it since I've been here over the last 11 years because it was antiquated in terms of, like, there were things like the public works director was the city council, but that's because the verbiage was in there before we had a city administrator. We just kept, like, piling this verbiage that didn't make sense in there when the way a mayor, city council, manager form of government is supposed to work is the administrator hires, fires, and evaluates, and if you don't like that as council, then you fire me. But as far as the administrator goes, you know, you probably should have something in writing that's on it, whatever you call it, it doesn't matter, so that the next council, whenever it is, has to do this, can at least have a blueprint to run off of instead of have to go through this meandering that you've had to go through over the last couple of months to get to this point. But whatever you call it is whatever you call it. I don't think it has to be part of the code, in my opinion. It could just be a policy for the, you know, recruitment and hiring of a city administrator.
And that assumes the city council wants to be involved. There are city councils that do not want to be involved, village boards who do not want to be involved until the very end. So
or until a
city
problem
council,
starts.
We don't know who the city council is going to be. The one who's going to be involved is the next city council, which is, a month from now. So that whoever's sitting here a month from now is the ones who we'll be talking to, and then you have to decide what involvement do you want. If you want total control into the decision making from the beginning, then we need direction.
So I don't think any of us who've reviewed this from February have any question. My question to the mayor was, just like Alderwoman Miller's, is I don't know what this does for us. We now have identified, Ann, yourself, and the mayor have identified a process. And just like our administrator just said, there should be a process. I'm a process person. I have a policy and procedure manual in my office that's 300 pages thick. I find it odd that we don't have that process. So I would love to see us take what we have, because I'm comfortable with what we have, and the rest of council can pipe in on that as well, but I think we should move it into some kind of a policy. And we've had it since February. I don't know if anybody's not reviewed it or has reviewed it, but it's now April 3rd, and here we still sit not doing anything with it. So I just want to see something move forward with a policy. If this is the policy, great. As long as nobody has any issue with it, let's move it forward, even if that's at the next meeting. I'd love to get something solidified. And David, you're right. The next council can certainly change it if they choose, but I'd love to see something in place as a policy. Thank you.
So is this for all offices or just the one we're talking about?
Just the one we're talking about.
Because it applies to all offices. You know,
You'd have to change the city code to do that.
well, we will be changing the city code, because right now the city code is the mayor, with the advice and consent of the city council.
And I know it's up to council to do that. I mean, Sean said no, I'm not going to argue the point, but I would strongly recommend against making it for all offices, I mean, as a city administrator.
Yeah, I think it's, in my opinion, it was just for the administrative position.
Okay. If I could just chime in real quick. Years ago, we used to do the council used to do the evaluations of department heads. And it was very, very difficult because we're not here on a day-to-day basis. That's where the Friday report started originally. It was generated with the idea that it was just to the council at that time, that one alderman brought up the fact that every Friday, every department head would let the council know what they were working on and what had gotten taken care of. And by keeping track with that, at least council had some idea when they just sat down and discussed evaluations. And it just really got to be totally complicated. And that's why, let's face it, we don't pay a city administrator $15 an hour for no reason, you know. I mean, he makes a good dollar, and he needs to take it and do certain responsibilities. So,
Alderman Glab, I don't believe we're asking for anything other than what's on that sheet.
Right.
And that's not making all of us involved in that process.
Right.
It's just a policy that says this is how it's going to work.
Right. No, all I'm getting at is that Attorney McCarnell brought up the fact that, you know, we don't want to create anything that's going to change it as far as with department heads and everything. This is just for the city administrator. Okay, just so that we're clear on that.
So what I'm hearing is you want us to take this, bring it back as a policy at the next council meeting to adopt as a policy. It does not have to be incorporated in the city code. You just want it as a policy.
Correct.
A city council policy.
That would be what I would be super happy about.
All right. I'd feel comfortable with that. Alderman Santee?
And as our HR director, are you comfortable with that?
I am. The one thing I have is, so we're hiring a consultant, right, to actually do the recruitment. So I feel like your policy, like someone had mentioned, well, does the council want to be involved? Some do, some don't. Part of their process is to interview every director and council member, and this is how they, let's say, make their brochures, gain insight to the possible candidates. They know what people are looking for. And, you know, I already know your candidates are going to want to interview with the whole council, right? I've had these discussions with the president of GovHR. So I wouldn't want, while I agree, if you all want your policy, you should have it, but it shouldn't be so tight as to eliminate maybe things that your consultant will want to do in their due diligence. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but...
I don't think, Ann, that's our intent. I think our intent is to, one, be responsible and accountable to our constituents, and when they say, how did you hire someone, we can say we have a policy.
Yeah.
And I believe firmly that that policy should give enough latitude to do the job well.
Good.
You know, it's not going to be rigid where we want this, 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 and this. I think the policy as it's set forth on the memorandum is a great roadmap, because it's bringing in GovHR, it's bringing in you, it's bringing the city platform. It's going to draw the greatest pool of talent to the opportunity, because we're using more than one vehicle. So if this memorandum turned into a policy, as Alderman Strack said, I would be happy with this. I just want to see something that we can go to time and time again and be in the public record. This was a process. We followed it to the T. This was the candidate that was the best of the bunch, and we hired them, or the mayor appointed them. I just think it behooves us in today's day and age to have a policy that we're accountable for.
Agreed.
Thank you,
Yes.
Alderman. Alderman Santee.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up. Alderman Streck already brought this up. I hate to repeat myself, but yeah, we're looking at a memorandum from February 21st, and it's now April 3rd, and I definitely want to give our HR director some guidelines here and initiate this process as soon as possible. She has things to do. This is a time element issue also, okay? And I understand we'll come back with, you know, a certain level or certain number, you know, to make the final decision. It'll be the council. But the memorandum's here. I've had discussions with Ann already in regards to some of the steps. I want to make sure input from all the council members are involved in this, because we had some concerns going back and forth with a couple of things, and just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. But, I want to move forward. I want to give this lady some guidelines so we can contact the GovHR people. We can start I want to put the wheels in motion as soon as possible.
Well, if we have the policy in the next meeting and it's approved, then we're ready to go, because it's, GovHR is in the budget to start May 1st, so we'll be ready to hit the ground running May 1st. And, I know, I'll just say it so that's on record, and I say it publicly, because I've said it to some council members or maybe to the group as a whole too, that, my time frame is January of 2024, but, depending on what happens with the process, I'm not stuck to that. If something happens faster, then we have a discussion. If you don't find the ideal candidate, the perfect fit, in terms of what the council's looking for this municipality, then we can figure something out too. So I don't want you to think that you're under a gun just because I have a time frame. That's my time frame, but I'm willing to, I'm not just going to walk away and say, well, too bad you didn't hire somebody, so you're on your own. It's not going to happen. So I just want council to know that because I gave you that date, don't think that, well, we have to rush to hire somebody or take whatever candidates we get or whatever just to meet that deadline, okay? I'm just going to say that on record so you don't feel like I'm just going to walk out in January and be done and leave you hanging when it's budget time again. Perfect
So
time.
if I could say, so when I asked about the timeline, and even though we've talked about, let's say, 6 months, that 6 months includes the candidate giving their 30 to 60-day notice to their current employer. So if that makes you feel more comfortable, so there would be time to bring a policy forward, to get GovHR on board, end of May, beginning of June. It still gives us plenty of time.
So Derek, we have a direction.
Yeah.
Any council members opposed to that direction?
So we're looking at the next meeting that we will be bringing something forward as far as something that's concrete, to where we can finally keep moving and move forward.
Yep, we'll turn the memo or the information that you got into a policy and bring it back for approval at the next meeting. Thanks.
Alderman Santee.
Real quick, I just urge every council member to have a discussion with Derek or Ann or both in regards to anything off of that memorandum that you have questions on, or you feel there's a different avenue to take, and have that discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you, Ann. I know I've probably been a pain in the butt for you, calling and asking questions. And thank you, and I apologize if I've been a butt. Coming out of our very heavily regulated industry, we over-policy because it gives us the comfort of doing the right thing every time. So being in a gray area is uncomfortable for somebody like us coming out of our industry because we're very black and white. So I think that probably would give you some insight into my head and maybe Sean's head, that we see very much black and white, and I appreciate the latitude. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have any other city council comments? We don't have any executive session tonight, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Alderman Strachey, you had your hand up real quick.
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Alderman Santee. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't vote.
Yes.
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 Yes.